Well, hey there, everybody. It's Mrs. Estero here with another First Chapter Friday. I'm so glad that you've joined me today. I've picked these books very carefully. They are all books that I love, and this book is no different. It is a novel written in verse, meaning that it is written in a series of poems, and novels in verse tend to move very quickly because of that. It is also in honor of Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, which is in May. And it is I Am Kavi by Thushanthi Ponweera. Before we hear a little bit about the book, I want to make sure that you have your First Chapter Friday free sheet that is available in the comments section of my YouTube channel. You can download it, put them in your reading notebook, and keep track of the books as you listen to them. And this way, when you need another book, you can refer to them and get some good ideas. Let's hear a little bit about I Am Kavi. Caught between two worlds, poverty-stricken village and a fancy big city school, a young Sri Lankan girl must decide who she really is and where she really belongs. 1998, Colombo. The Sri Lankan Civil War is raging. Everyday life must go on. At Kavi's school, her friends talk about the weekly top 40, the Backstreet Boys, Shahrukh Khan, Leo and Kate, and who died or didn't in the latest bombing. But Kavi is afraid of something even scarier, or she fears that if her friends discover her secret, that she is not who she is pretending to be, they'll stop talking to her. Kavi's scholarship to go to an elite new school was supposed to be everything she'd ever wanted. But as she tries to find some semblance of normalcy in a country on fire, nothing is going according to plan. In an effort to fit in with her wealthy, glittering, and self-assured classmates, Kavi begins telling lies, trading her old life, where she's a poor girl whose mother has chosen a new husband over her daughter, for a new one, where she's rich, loved, and wanted. But how long can you pretend to be someone else? This dazzling novel in verse comes from an astonishing new talent who lived through the Civil War herself. Okay, so it's pretty interesting to me that this author lived through the Civil War and wrote a novel about it. So we're going to start out with this. It says Strings Village in the Anuradhapura district, Sri Lanka, May 1997. Just bear with me with the pronunciation. Some of it is tough. So you'll see, like I said, it's a novel written in verse. And so I'll always read the title of each poem first. And I know it's First Chapter Friday, but because they're so short, I'm going to read a bunch of them to you. Okay? So let's start out with Jasmine. It's still dark outside when I wake up. That time when there is not enough moonlight or enough sunlight. The jasmine flowers glow incandescent as they always do, eagerly looking for my outstretched hands. I pluck them swiftly, glad that their sweet-smelling scent overpowers the smell of manure, drifting from the direction of the cows. I carry them to the tiny altar in the corner of our garden and light a fresh stick of incense. The serene face of the small stone Buddha reminds me to practice loving kindness. I'd love to have that kind of face, the kind that makes everyone feel instantly calm. Then I remind myself that the Buddha took years and years of searching. suffering, enduring, to achieve all that calm. I am only searching, suffering, and enduring when wait. The next poem is called Rituals. Rituals are like strings that connect me to Amma, at times the only ones, the thou. Amma, by the way, means mother. I started drinking tea when I was a toddler, Amma says, begging for sips per cup, till eventually I had my own. I'm yet to be promoted to the level of plain tea drinker. Mine consists of mostly milk, still warm from the insides of the cow Amma milked mere minutes. We both drank our tea in the same way. One hand hugs the cup, one hand stays open, a bit of sugar in its palm. A sip from the cup, a lick of the palm, sip, lick, sip, lick. The comforting sounds appeareth from the nearby temple surround us, as they do every day at dawn, till the rooster crows, breaking the reverie, our signal to get moving. Amma stands, reties her hair into a bun, tightens her retta, the cotton cloth that hugs the lower part of her body, and heads out. Kavi, wash up and come quickly. She is referring to the empty cups. Do it yourself, I spell back, in my head, of course. Arguing with Amma is like going to war. You may win, not without a whole lot of damage. Let's read the next one, Daytime Amma. Daytime Amma is not patient. The grains fly out of her hands as she throws them to the chickens. Gravy splatters her blouse while she cooks, and the coconut leaf broom swishes noisily as she hurriedly sweeps the house. I tell myself she may be faster, but I do a better job. I pause to pet the cows, nuzzling their sweet noses, thanking them for their milk. And when I make malung, I cut the gatacola leaves as freely as possible, like you're supposed to do. When Amma makes malung, pieces are so big, we might as well have plucked the leaves off the ground and eaten them straight. So she's talking about making malam, and that's kind of like a shredded vegetable Sri Lankan dish. Even our little front porch is spotless. After I'm done sweeping it, I feel rather proud of myself, though Amma keeps telling me to hurry up and doesn't praise my work like she used to. Daytime Amma is not patient. The morning sunlight frames our shadows as we walk past a cluster of small houses around our own and make our way to the common well. This is where we wash ourselves, our clothes, to get ready for the day. I go to school and see to the paddy fields. Mama draws the water, muscles in her arm pulsing with each pull of the rope. A metal bucket at the end of it, not spilling any water, thanks to her steady hands. I tried doing it once, but it was taking too long, and by the time the bucket was up, half of its contents were out. And daytime Amma is not patient. The next poem is called Siripala. Hang in there so we can find out what that means. At home, my patience wears thin too, as I try my best not to disturb the sleeping lump of a man covered in a sheet and sprawled on the pedura on the floor, his tall body taking up more space than it should. I dress unhurriedly, moving my arms slowly through the sleeves of my school uniform, the older one of the two I own, hoping today won't be the day it finally rips. The sleeping lump yawns, his eyes still closed. I finished the rest of my dressing up routine in record time. Hurry up, the food's getting cold, Amma calls me. Impatient again. This time, I'm thankful for it. Anything to avoid Siripala. Incomplete. I step outside and walk around to the back of the house, dragging my hand over its uneven wall and peeling paint to the makeshift kitchen that built us before he died. It's incomplete, missing half a roof. Amma is saving up to finish. She hands me a plate of manaya, our regular breakfast. Mine is arranged into neat, lumpy balls, pre-dabbed with grated coconut to allow for the most efficient eating, our special discovery. I gobble them up, finish tying my hair and shoelaces, and bend down to worship. Another ritual, another string. Next one is called Sinhala Buddhist. I used to fling myself at her feet, my forehead to her toes, arms clasped above my head, knees and elbows on the ground. No holding back, just like my religion taught me. Good Buddhist girl. I would do this every day without fail, unquestioning in my devotion to her, my mother, who could do no wrong, just like my culture taught me, a good Sinhalese girl. Not anymore. Lately, there is no head to toe contact. My knees hover inches away from the ground, and I only graze her feet with my fingertips. If she's noticed this lack of fervor, she hasn't commented on it. Thermaruvan Sanari, she says as she touches my head, calling the powers of the triple death, the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha to protect me. I mutter the words back to her, not really meaning them. Not so good anymore. The lump is up. As I walk away, I glance back to see her handing a cup of tea to the man who is now awake, his thin body leaning on the door frame, his sarong hitched up between his knees. I walk faster, my fists clenched around the strap of my school bag, squeezing, squeezing. I really should try and step it up, the loving kindness. They say it matters the most when it's hardest to do. And not to boast or anything, but I've always been good at the hard stuff. Back then. It wasn't like this back then. We were like those typical pictures of my family that kids are told to draw during art class. Mother, father, child, mama, bacha, me. Holding hands, smiling, always smiling. Most of the fathers in the other kids' pictures wore army camo and carried a gun. Mine did too for a few years until the uniform was replaced with regular clothes, and instead of 2 feet peeking out from beneath the sarong, I drew only one. There was, there was no gun hoisted on his arm, but there was a crutch. It's what he came back with. After nearly a decade at the front lines, the lower part of his leg had exploded along with the Claymore mine he had stepped on. Slow death. The news calls soldiers like him victims of the war. The government awarded him a medal and called him a hero. He looked at it often, twirling it in his hand while rubbing the stump below his knee, his expression changing over months from pride to something I couldn't quite recognize. Disgust, anger, regret. Every night he held onto it while he slept, metal as if it were a part of him, something from the war to replace something he lost. Even the night he went to sleep, he never woke up. Heart attack. So sudden, so unexpected, so young. The people at the funeral seemed surprised, but Thatcha's heart had failed him. The same people who had stopped praising him, visiting him, inviting him. Hadn't they failed him too? Statues. I expected Amma to be a bit more emotional at the cremation, but she was pretty disappointing, to be honest. She didn't wail, fall on the ground, tear her hair out, or thump her chest like I've seen other widows do when their husbands died in the war. I crept closer to her, hoping she would finally break down and clutch me. We would sob together as one, but she just stood there like a statue, two steady rivulets of tears pouring down the sides of her lovely face. This meant that I couldn't cry either. So I swallowed my sobs till my throat hurt. I didn't want to give her another reason to sigh when she looked at me. She'd been doing that a lot lately, and I knew she thought I was weak. I wanted to show her I could be a statue too, even if I was one made of clay, not fully dried, and trying not to break. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. I hope that that gave you a good peek into this book. I do highly recommend this story to everybody. I think that it is a great example of historical fiction and getting to know another culture and getting to read a novel in verse. I'm so glad that you joined me here for First Chapter Friday. I hope that you'll join me again. And if there is a certain book that you would like to see featured on my channel, just drop a comment on my YouTube channel and I'll do my best to make it happen. Until then, happy reading, and I'll see you next Friday.